Welcome to Lazy Reviews. Today I'll be talking about a TV show that might deserve your attention in case it has slipped under your radar, and that show is Marvel's The Punisher. It premiered on Netflix in 2017. It has 2 seasons with 26 episodes in total. Although that might sound like a short TV series in comparison to some of the bigger ones, every episode is between 45 minutes and 1 hour long, so it is still a lot of hours you would dedicate to watching the show, but as I will tell you, it might be time well spent. I will not be going too much into detail here. I really want to keep it spoiler free, so I will be very vague, actually maybe frustratingly vague. I will tell some important details that are relevant to understanding why the show works, but without saying who it happens to, or without going into detail exactly what happens, just so you have an idea of what you can expect from the show. One thing I will tell you is that this show is very, very, very violent. It does offer more than just violence and action, but that is the main thing that appealed to me, and I was just actually surprised that it had much more to offer. And I think a good place to start is Jon Bernthal's excellent portrayal of the titular character. It really shows someone who is completely broken down, who is really just an empty shell of a person. Punisher has a mere shade of humanity left, and he's living just for revenge and to rid the city of New York of filthy criminals and corrupt officials. He has no faith in the system that has let him and many other people down, and the only solution is to take matters into your own hands and punish the hell out of these criminals. There is another element to his character. He also lives to preserve the memory of his wife. He's afraid that should he pass away, she will be forgotten. That's honestly just quite deep in a way. It's quite sweet in a very tragic way. And it also goes on to give him more motivation than just revenge and just hate, that he actually also has love. And that will actually carry on to the themes of this, because this series has a lot of themes and they are usually used very well. There's of course the themes of justice and punishment, the ethics of murder and revenge. What is enough revenge? When can you stop? What is the purpose to go on living just for vengeance? After experiencing trauma and betrayal, can you go back to living a meaningful existence? Can you forgive? Actually, one thing I should stress here is that the first season and the second season are quite different. That's also something I really like. The main plot of the first season ends at the end of the first season. Some of it is carried over into the second season, but the second season takes those elements that are carried over and uses them very well. It takes a lot of the emotional baggage of the first season, and uses it well, and it twists some characters and puts some dynamics and some dilemmas and some ethics on their head, and also gives some good reason for further escalation. And the second season is very much about revenge and forgiveness. And family. There's also an element of family. That also means that the show will not always make you feel fulfilled, because these questions of revenge and forgiveness and justice that are echoing through almost all the episodes. Sometimes actually the easy answer or the easy solution, the one that will make you feel the happiest, or at least that justice has been dealt out, you don't feel relieved. I felt sometimes that the series actually took a turn, especially in the second season, where I thought it would have gone in a different direction, where people might not have been punished enough, or where retribution hadn't really taken place. But honestly, I don't really dislike the series for it, because that's just what it does with its themes. But it also takes these themes, that what separates good from evil, and that's especially true not just for the Punisher's character, but mainly his character. What separates him from the people he's chasing? Because some of the people he's up against are actually very similar to him, have more or less the same background, and then he starts questioning the ethics of what he's doing. Not so much necessarily him, but people around him start pointing fingers, leading, maybe without spoiling, to some realization of some character development. Because what is the purpose of killing monsters if you become one yourself? That it does involve torture. It does involve scenes where our protagonist is doing unethical things. And around that, it also has actually a lot of political commentary or social commentary. It opens up for a debate. Even mentioning all these themes and the commentary, it never loses its entertainment value. Because overall, this is just an entertaining show. It doesn't feel like a lecture. It doesn't feel like an emotional overload. It is quite well paced. Yes, it does have filler. It does have a lot of unnecessary plot holes, where the only reason why these things happen the way they do is to prolong the TV series, to make sure that there are 4 or 5 episodes more, and that things aren't resolved when they probably should be resolved. That being said, I think it does it much more elegantly than many other TV shows do it, or movies even. I never lost my immersion too much from these very convenient things that happen, or inconvenient things that happen. It never really ruined it too much for me. It is a TV show, and you should just accept that. It will probably have 1 or 2 episodes too many, or 1 or 2 arcs that are a bit too long and unnecessary. But even then, I will actually say that the side characters, the other main characters of the TV series, including the villains, they have very fleshed out stories. stories. They have very good personas. This TV series doesn't throw many people at you, and it doesn't throw many arcs at you. A lot of TV series get lost in having multiple characters with all their arcs and all their thoughts and emotions having to be dealt with before it can go on to the next season. This one doesn't really do that, and I really like it. It refrains from doing that so much that one of the main characters in the first season doesn't continue into the second season because his arc is actually resolved. It would make no sense to bring him into the second season, and I'm really happy it didn't do that. It would have felt way too forced. And that's another thing. It doesn't exactly glamorize violence. It doesn't exactly glamorize vigilantism. It does have enough characters that question the morality of this. So make it not a complete glorification of people who go out and kill criminals. But it also is not against that idea too much. It kind of takes this middle ground where it doesn't comment on it too much, but rather just shows you the consequences, not just for the society that has these people in them, but for the people themselves. What are the consequences for being this kind of person? What are the consequences for their immediate family or people around them? And I think that's fine. I don't think it has to answer all the questions or themes it throws into the air. It's up to the audience to make your own opinion. And again, one thing I really need to stress is this is just a fun show. I'm talking about why it's actually well written, why there are many things that work about it, but honestly, this is just good action, violent action. I also should note that I'm not a superhero person, and I feel that this is the perfect superhero for me because it feels very grounded. It feels very realistic without any supernatural or science fiction elements in it, with the exception, of course, that the Punisher and a few other characters are healing extremely fast in it and can take way more punishment than they should. But in this sense, it's kind of explained or semi-explained that the Punisher is a bit like the Doom guy, that it's pure hatred that drives him forward. And sure, I can respect that. That's enough for me. I'm really happy that it didn't throw in all these other superheroes or anything, because for someone who doesn't appreciate that, this feels very, very wholesome. And I know from people who do appreciate superhero stuff that they were the ones who recommended this to me. So I know that this might appeal to both audiences, and I think that should also be noted in case you were hesitant to watch this because it is a Marvel. Well, don't think of it as much as a Marvel thing than as anything else that is not superhero related. And I haven't even commented, so the sound design is very good. And the cinematography, one thing I really have to praise this for is it gets quite inventive with some of the action scenes, being quite creative. There are of course night scenes that take place at night and in the dark, but overall I felt like you could actually see what was going on, whether it's someone fighting or someone shooting. I never felt disoriented. I never felt like overtly choreographed fighting scenes, and the way that the gun scenes, the action, the explosions, whatever, all that is quite good. And I really appreciate that you can actually see what's going on in this, because that is something that unfortunately is true for many movies and TV series. When there's action, it's dark, it's confusingly shot, edited together in a way where you might not see what's going on, or it's so perfectly choreographed that it completely removes my immersion in it. And this one doesn't really do that. At least not a lot. And yes, I did say that the cast is not big, but each of them is getting something to do. Their characters do develop from first season to the second season, the ones that do pass over. They do change over time. They do react to what's happening, and I do like that a lot. I guess it is the bare minimum, but even then I should praise it because it does take a lot of maybe people are dealing with the same issues like trauma, but it shows you how they deal with it in different ways. And I do like it a lot. It's well made, and generally it just really has good setups and payoffs. The last thing I want to just quickly mention, the show is quite egalitarian. The Punisher, not really caring if you're a man or a woman. If you are a criminal and in his way, he'll destroy you, no matter your gender. And I think that's quite good. They actually even play with it because this is also another level. The Punisher is definitely portrayed as a flawed person. And in one scene, he shows off his own more conservative thinking. He explains to a girl that had she been a boy, he would never have gone out of his way to help her. But because she's a girl, well, he basically ruined his own life to save her. So he does show his own double standards, even if he is willing and capable of murdering women when they're pointing a gun at him. He's actually not that egalitarian in his worldview. He definitely puts women on a pedestal. And I just think that's another interesting dynamic to it. That honestly, there's a lot you could say about this. I think I will stop here. There is a tie-in episode I'll make where I might explain some of the other things about the show, some of the other things I want to say in that context, because yes, I am making another one that is related to this. And while I have your attention, how does this hold up to the Dolph Lundgren movie from 1989? So sadly, this show does not have a scene where the Punisher goes wild and shoots a lot of slot machines. It doesn't have ninjas with katanas. It doesn't have shuriken or people jumping through windows and throwing knives. And it doesn't have a Punisher that has a very, very poorly drawn-on fake beard. And maybe that's for the better.
What the fuck you call 125 murders in 5 years, huh?
We're
work in progress.
That movie is okay as well. I'm not going to make a video on it. I just wanted to mention it here because this is probably the only time I would ever have the opportunity to fit in that film. And it's not the worst, it's not the best, but it's funny. Especially if you've seen this film, go back and watch the Dolph Lundgren movie. It is, if nothing else, interesting. But one thing that the TV show has over the movie is that the TV show has a scene where someone tries to take someone else's face off.
Yes. His face.
And that's quite brutal. Especially the reasoning for the person wanting to do that, that's quite amazing. But anyway, this video got longer than expected, so take care. And stay tuned for the next one. If you want to see the tie-in episode, maybe give this subscribe. Then you can actually get an update or something when the next one comes out. I don't know. Do as you please. Bye.